Hi everybody, my name's Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, for most of us, we come in every day really with an opportunity to shine, an opportunity to be the light of the world, an opportunity to give love and share it, to feel love and share it, to feel love, give it and share it. And, the question would be is, do we take that opportunity? Do we come into each day with that recognition or even intention to be the light of the world? Do we really think that the lights of the world are only possible once in 100,000 million years for each religion? Only at the heart of each religion was there a teacher or a master or a guru who had the experience that they are the light of the world? That is really possible, and it's possible now for all of us, each of us, every one of us, everyone watching, everyone not watching, to know in their hearts that there is one love. There is what people call God, what people call truth, what people call the knowing of that infinite, of that oneness, of that love. And we're all part of it, made of it, are it. And that can be our prayer, that can be our intention as we wake up every day. And as I was saying, to someone earlier, the thing that's been striking me so much lately is in a way for the children. All of us, every race, religion, every country has the children. There's no sexual preference that doesn't have the children. People have children. People know children. And are we going to allow again and again for hatred, for ethnic cleansing, for the barbarity of how we treat each other, how we treat the oceans and the mountains and the dolphins and the whales and the Grand Canyons and each other, ourselves and each other, to go on and on and on and on and on and on and on without intending it otherwise? And throughout human history, it seems like there has been that disharmony, that disconnection. But the time really is available now, the energy is available now for that recognition to happen, and for the next generation of children to not have to know that hatred, to not have to know that division, to not have to know that disharmony one more time, one more generation. That it's time that we intended to stop it now and let the love and joy that we really are manifest as it should, as it's meant to in this experiment on this glorious planet, that we recognize the connection between us all. And really, that has to be our calling, that has to be our prayer. If we don't know it, we have to pray to know it. Because it is knowable now, and it is knowable for everyone. That information, that experience, that realization, that knowing is now available. Take my word for it, that knowing is now available. And that is the destiny, the purpose, the realization of this human life, to know that connection. That there is no separation between any of us, between what we call God, that every atom in this entire glorious infinite is no different than us, each of us. No race, no religion, no color, no sexual preference. Nothing separates that. That we are all one heart, all one love. And again, people, guests come, they fly millions of miles, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles, whatever it takes to get here. Tonight, Philip Gardiner has flown in basically around this night to share with you. Flew in from England to be here in California. And he spent the last 15, 20 years of his life trying to understand, to research, to come to that root, to know the combination of mankind and science and religion and philosophy and heart and love. And he's written 2 extraordinary new books that deal with that in his really extraordinary, specific way. that reveals truths, that uncovers illusion in the illusion. So I mean, we really got something. We got in this illusion of separation, there's so much deceit and illusion and falsehoods. And Philip has taken it on himself to reveal what he has studied and what he has learned. And his job in that healing of the heart is to reveal that. One book is the Serpent Grail that he wrote with Gary Osborne. And the other, he wrote Gnosis, Secrets of Solomon's Temple Revealed. And both of those are about the revelation of truth, the revelation of love, the revelation of that connection. And Philip has done some extraordinary videos that we are honored to show parts of tonight. One music video and one explanation of his new book, Gnosis. And then, as we normally do during this period of bridging, we're in the middle of this extraordinary international art project. And basically it was, came forth as a vision. And the vision was to contact all these people all over the planet, or make it available to people all over the planet, to produce a new original piece based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth. And pieces have been coming in from all over the world. And tonight we have two extraordinary pieces, different. One's a mosaic, one's an acrylic on canvas, just extraordinary, different types of pieces. But we'll show those tonight. So the first video we'll show after the meditation will be Philip's, but join me in a short meditation. We'll just settle in, and then we'll see Philip's first video on Gnosis. And again, it's an opportunity. So please join me in a short meditation. Hi, thank you. So, yeah, as I said, the first video is by Philip Gardiner, our wonderful guest tonight. It was written, directed, and produced by Philip. So it's an extraordinary video, Gnosis. Enjoy.
I'm Philip Gardiner, and I'd like to invite you to journey with me into the heart of an ancient and sacred mystery that truly lies within ourselves. This is a journey of ages, and one that transcends ordinary human thought. It is the secret at the very heart of the Temple of Solomon. Gnosis means knowledge of the most esoteric kind. This is the story that has been kept from the ears of mankind for too long. It is a truth hidden beneath the layers of religious deceit for centuries. This is the truth behind the world's most infamous secret societies, including the Knights Templar. It is the revelation of the arcane secrets of mankind, and the amazing discovery of the secret of Solomon's Temple. You cannot live life until you have Gnosis. Many people have no understanding of what Gnosis means. Others think that it simply means knowledge and leave it at that. Yet there is a deeper meaning attached to this word. It is a word that gave rise to the title Gnostic, or one who has this special knowledge. They practiced a spirituality that was distinctly more Eastern than the Western version of Christianity we see around us today. The term Gnosis, in truth, is the direct mystical experience of the divine in the self. It is the realization of the true nature of ourselves, and cannot be discerned through intellectual dogma and doctrine. For whoever does not know self does not know anything, but whoever knows self already has acquired knowledge about the depth of the universe. So were the words of Christ according to St. Thomas, and these few words reveal the depth of the belief in this peculiar and seemingly difficult to comprehend system. It seems we're being told by the ancients that the most important place to search for truth, the divine, and for ultimate knowledge of the universe is within ourselves. The goal of this Gnosis is to discover this true inner reality, which also gives us an insight into the very universe. I shall give you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, and what has never arisen in the human mind. These were the words attributed to Christ, and what we shall discover is that this Christ of the Gospels is nothing other than the true inner reality of ourselves. The words of Christ match those of other leading historical avatars because it is a kind of archetype within each one of us in a very quantum way. If we can obtain the wisdom and knowledge of this true Christ, then we shall be able to see what no eye has seen and hear what no ear has heard. We shall truly touch what has never arisen in the human mind, because what we shall see is much more than just the creation of this human mind of ours.
Hi everybody, welcome back. So we're here with Philip, but before we start talking, I'd like to point you out to this incredible mosaic piece. It's mosaic on wood. It's called Expansion by a beautiful Santa Barbara artist, Christine Brayer, and it's just an incredible piece. I don't know how well you can see it here, but hopefully we'll have some B-roll on it and you can get a feel for it. It's really beautiful. So Philip, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. So this was about 15 or 16 years ago, and just a lot of things happened in your life that said, basically, I have to know the root, the truth. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you propelled forward and how that worked for you?
Well, I think like most people, for the first part of my life, I just followed the patterns of everybody that was around me, especially my parents and my father. So I went off and joined the army, and various things that occurred whilst in the army kind of made me think a lot deeper about how we treat each other as human beings. It also made me think about the history of the human mind and human history in general, and so I wanted to look a bit deeper. But you still need money, so I went and got a job. But in that job, I came across people that were profound, strangely. Even it was
What job was it?
It was in a printing company. I basically got on the bottom ladder of a printing company and started printing. But two of the other guys that were printers, one was in a thing called the sealed knot, which is a Civil War reenactment where you get big pikes and stab each other. Lovely, loving stuff. And the other guy was in the Byron Society, Lord Byron, the poet. And so the influences that were coming in from a guy who had been damaged in warfare, if you like, were quite strange, really. I got this kind of historical influence from the guy in the sealed knot who wanted to talk about the 16th century and the 17th century, and so that got me involved in that. And then the other guy wanted to talk about, the deeper and darker mind of man from Byron and Keats and Shelley and all the other people that were involved there. So that kind of sent me on a road. But I also then did a marketing degree and took several diplomas to try and improve my life in general.
But the hunger had been...
The hunger was there to learn about the mind of man, but there was still the side of me which was capitalist, which was saying...
The momentum was still very strong to be the regular person.
Absolutely. The drive was there to earn the money, to get that money, simple as that. It's money, 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 money. But there was an interest sparked, and that's where I go back to. That's the point I go back to where I think it all started. But the marketing degree is important because years later, I owned a marketing company. I'd set one up. It took me 10 years to build it up to the point where I was earning money that I never dreamt I could earn. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. I was doing Pepsi and Spice Girls and Star Wars and the Labour government and you name it. I was advising and making things,
We could actually, Bridging Heaven and Earth, could use a good advisor.
No problem. Afterwards, let's talk. Free, no problem.
All right.
Because I don't want to charge for that filth anymore.
Right.
So basically, I did that for 10 years or more.
Was the hunger still kind of
But along the line, you see, as long as the time I'm doing that, I'm also thinking, I'm also learning more about history and the mind of man, and starting to move off from doing diplomas that are involved in learning money, and started going into holistic medicine and, you know, psychology, Jungian thought, etc. And so it started veering me away. And about 8 years into the company, I just couldn't do it anymore. And it took me 2 years to get out, to sell it, and, you know, because I sat there and I said,
I don't want to do this anymore.
I am manipulating people's minds, and I know I'm doing it, and I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore.
I was trained as a lawyer, and at some point it was like, oh my
Same
God,
thing,
I can't. You know, if I do this one more week, I'm really right.
Yeah, and it strangles you.
Yeah, it's really debilitating after this time.
Yeah, and then...
so the transition was like moving out, and then at some point it's like, I'm going to be out and see what...
Yeah, that's it. I've had enough of doing this and manipulating people's minds. But all along the time I was doing that, I was doing other things. I had another life. There was another side of me. It's like I was leading a dual life. Yeah, I was split, as we are in this world, because we have to live in it.
Except, you know, we've talked a lot about the show. Is like this is the time when like we're almost bridging heaven and earth. That you can live in this world, you know, and do human things and know the truth, know the oneness, and that was what all your books are about ultimately.
Absolutely, but this is the point of me, then. You know, that I'm not that man.
Right, absolutely.
You know, I'm not that 17-year-old who flew helicopters. I'm this man now, today, and tomorrow I'll be a different one.
Right.
You know? But at that point then, I was dual-natured.
Right.
And after work, I would go and sit at the foot of a Sufi master, who for some reason took me in. Wow. And then the following week I'd be, you know, at a Freemasonic lodge for whatever reason, and then I'd be with the Rosicrucians or the Golden Dawn, and I'd spent years and years and years just finding out what this was all about. But then something strange, very strange, happened. This elderly gentleman sent me a book. It was a very old book, with a note saying you need to read this, and so I read it, and the information in this book was just incredible, and it brought together all the things that the Sufi, the Rosicrucian, all those people had said, and yet there's no name, no title, and no publishing company. And the old gentleman eventually died, leaving me in his will membership of a society.
Wow.
Yeah.
That you had never heard of until that moment.
Until that point. And that kind of opens your mind as well to say, well, what else is there out there? But I went along and went through their initiations. And I didn't do it because I wanted to be in a secret society. I wanted to know what it was all about, as simple as that. You know. And all that information from all those years kind of just one day told me, you're living a dual life. You know it. You know you need balance, and so I had to cut it off and start again.
And so when that decision was clear to you, and that, like, in essence, epiphany happened,
yes,
you know, like the light came on. I mean, so did you like have almost like a transition period, or from the first day, okay, my destiny is to seek out the secrets of the temple, or I mean, how did that work for you?
Well, the thing is, you have to balance, and at that point I'd understood that you need balance, and I also had 2 children and a wife, so I had a responsibility, and so I knew that the transition had to be smooth, and I had to make sure I provided. So the provision and the knowledge had to come together at some point, and luckily, you know, I built the company up to such a point that it could support me for quite a while. And on the sale, so that's great. Yeah. While I went off and went to Rome and Paris and Portugal and all over the world seeking all these secrets. And it's been a real trip. It's been a real Indiana Jones trip sometimes as well. You know, I've had bullets shot at me. There's not much love there in some quarters because I don't know, a lot of people don't want you to know things, you know. But knowledge is what we should all have, as far as I'm concerned. You know, Gnosis is a much deeper word. That I prefer. I prefer the word gnosis to knowledge because it implies much more. Yeah, and so it's an interesting period, and it's still going on. You know, I've only just come back from Berlin where I was tracking down another secret society and came across, I mean, you're going to love this, Nazis. I was absolutely terrified, but I was taken to this cafe outside of Berlin, and in the back of the cafe there's like a bar, and there's all these blonde-haired, blue-eyed Nazis with pictures of Hitler up everywhere. And you know, to me, that's completely wrong, but highlighting the fact can cause a reaction, and that's what I want to do. I want to highlight the fact that this is still there, that you don't know about. Have you seen this on the news? Do people tell you this is going on?
I mean, don't they say that there was a, like a Nazi, resurgence in certain
Yeah,
parts?
but this is under the guise of the Holy Grail, a secret society
see.
that was created in the medieval times. And these guys are taking people out into woods and judging them in the middle of the night. You know, so
Father,
this kind of absolutely, this kind of thing needs highlighting to stop it. And this is kind of bringing.
Still keep doing this?
Yeah,
it's so bizarre.
This is what I'm talking about, bringing the balance back. I think personally, by highlighting that fact, I can bring some balance, because the Berlin authorities are now doing something about it. You know, but unless somebody goes and highlights it and finds these things, they're just going to carry on and influence the mind of more children, more kids that go. Because some of these people in that bar were 14, 15, seeing Hitler as a hero. It's just my role.
Right. But I mean, interesting, when I, watched the video and read parts of the book and all that, I mean, it seemed to me that somewhere along the line, you got into it so deeply in so many different ways and so many like spokes on the wheel, the way I would describe it, that you came to the conclusion that this Gnosis was this knowledge, this realization, this understanding of the connection of the oneness, like I was talking about, is the root of all the different religions and all the true societies and all the true experiences. And that was like, the bottom line of it all. And how do we get to that?
Yeah, I got to that point, and it's going to sound really strange, but I'll try and explain it in the easiest way I can. By one night sitting in bed with my wife, 1 o'clock in the morning, drinking a cup of tea, as we do in England, because it's cold. And she turned around and she said, did you know that snake venom has been used for boosting the immune system? Now that sounds strange. How is that going to get back to the oneness? But it did, because I was historically minded, and I'd read alchemy and all the other
and you had a lot
things.
Of stories and history about the serpent and the serpent's message. Yeah, so you knew
so
a lot about that.
The moment she said that, bang, 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 bang. The mind, the neurons in the mind just opened up completely, and the whole brain went mad, and I didn't sleep for days, and I ran down, and that led me on the path of the serpent, and finding out that all the religions of the world are based upon serpent cults. That the serpent cults were everywhere in the world, absolutely everywhere, and people don't realise it. They don't get it. What do you mean? This horrible little snake that goes along the ground, how can we have worshipped that? And there are many levels to it, but it's everywhere. And it just blew my mind, and it took me 2 years of going around the world just finding this stuff out. But what it gets back to, the root that it goes back to is, although there are many, is that in altered states of consciousness, whether you use drugs, and I don't advise that, or whether you meditate, dervish, prayer, take yourself away into a cave, whatever it is you do to alter the state of consciousness, there's an archetypal image of the serpent that's seen. Another author, Graham Hancock's just written a book called Supernatural, and in that, every picture, he went and did drugs in South America, and every picture that he had painted or saw had snakes in. And it's a universal archetype. Everybody from around the world has this effect. Jeremy Narby has tried to point out that it's probably DNA that the people are seeing, which is the double helix.
Right.
And when people see the Caduceus sign, where there's two
and
snakes.
And the Kundalini spinning up?
And the Kundalini, which is obviously a Hindu system involving the chakra points of the body, where
like the third eye and then
and the Bindu
crown chakra.
Absolutely, and that's another incredible elements. So when you look into all that, these altered states of consciousness, and you see that the serpent's in there, this is one of the reasons why the serpent is worshipped all over the world, because it's an archetype within each.
It's almost
one
like a
of us.
metaphor in a sense, isn't it? It's
Yes.
a metaphor and an archetype at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think that the connection point comes because it's a wave. And when we get down into that lowest part, we see this wave. You know, at the end of the day, we're energy. We're light energy. We're bodies of light, because the sun empowers us. You know, the sun empowers this earth and gives us all this energy. So we're bodies of light and energy. And when we go to the root source, when we do alter that state of consciousness and free ourselves of all this nonsense that's around us, and free up the unconscious state, we see this wave energy. And this wave energy, we know from quantum physics, is also a particle. It's particle and wave. And we know, and you know, because you've just been talking about it, is that the particle, quantum physics, states that everything's connected. You know? And it's quite simply like this. If you take a hologram, let's say that's a holographic picture, and you smash it into a million pieces, that holographic picture has been made by light energy, hasn't it? It's light that's gone onto that. It's photons that's made that. You smash it into a million pieces, each piece has got the picture of the whole. That's exactly what it's like. We're all part of the whole, and we all encompass the whole. We've all got everything within us, and we can know everything. And that's what the ancients were telling us, that you can know everything when you access this point. But they also told us many other things. They told us that you need to be in balance. And the Kundalini, for instance, is a perfect example of that, because you must have the balance of the Ida and Pingala channels. And there are many, many more images of balance. And one of those is the Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon didn't exist. There is no evidence whatsoever from archaeologists, and I've spoken to dozens and dozens of archaeologists, to say that the Temple of Solomon existed. The Temple of Jerusalem existed. But Solomon, there's no evidence for. At the time of Solomon, people were living in huts in the area. So
how did that myth get going?
Well,
and why?
The point of the book is to show that the Temple of Solomon story and the Solomon and Sheba story are, in fact, analogies. They're teaching methods. Yeah, the temple is man. It's built to the proportions of man on earth. It's as above, so below, on earth. And you enter in a sexual way between the legs, between the pillars of balance, into the temple and up to the head point, which is the Holy of Holies. And at the end of the day, this is called the temple. This is literally called the temple. And this is where it all occurs. This is the point of fusion between the opposites inside our mind. And that's imaged in the temple. And, you know, Israel, when Solomon and Sheba were divided, Israel fell apart. The tribes dispersed in many ways. But when Solomon and Sheba were together, it was strong, because Solomon and Sheba were two elements of ourselves that need to be united in balance in order to make the temple strong. And that's talking about us. We need to be like that. We need to balance the two sides of ourselves. And this is nothing new to many people, but it's something new to most people. Most people don't even think about balance. And most people don't think about
themselves, except in the in that grossest way, kind of.
Yeah, and balance works on many, many, many levels, doesn't it? You know, I can't get upstairs if I try to use one leg. You know, so don't expect any of us to raise in spirit unbalanced, because we won't.
Yeah, and I think in the Hindus they talk about the three-legged stool. If one of the legs isn't there,
yeah,
you know, spiritual, physical.
Well, that takes me on to something else that was discovered. One of the great, wonderful teachings that you can find in, for instance, the Templars, is the three words that come out, and which are three fantastic words which help you balance your life. And it's something practical that people should think about. And it's first one, strength. We all need strength. We need to have power. We need to be empowered to do something. And you know, if it's in business, you need to have your boss giving you authority. If it's ourselves, we just need to be a little stronger, maybe. So there's strength, there's will. So we need willpower. And then there's knowledge. If you lose any one of those three, then it's rubbish. If you've got willpower and knowledge, but without the strength, you're not going to get anywhere. If you've got strength and knowledge, but without the willpower, you're not going to get off your backside, are you? And if you've...
But you're going to think you're doing a lot. That's the glory. I'll tell you a funny story. Actually, you know what we'll do? Let's show you the music video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And I'll tell you a funny story about people thinking that... Actually, maybe I have enough time to do that before the video, but... You know, back in the days when, like, it was the 60s and, you know, the hippies and, you know, kind of, you know, moving away from, you know...
I don't remember.
Right.
Not old enough.
No, I know. Well, I was 160 then, so I don't remember. But I remember we were all sitting around and we just, you know, we'd party for days and no one could move. We were talking about changing the world, but none of us could stand up. So it's like this, you know, what group, you know, how is this? This was during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
We're going to change the world. It's like, could somebody get up? No. No, this ain't happening. Okay, so let's show Philip's second video. It's called The Grail. It's the video by Philip and music by Soul Path. It's a beautiful music video, The Grail. Enjoy.
Across the silent water.
Hi, welcome back. That was a beautiful video. That was really a nice video, yeah. So, and the painting between us now is Peaceful Heart by a former guest on Bridging, Cindy Schuster. Beautiful girl, beautiful spirit, and she painted this, specifically for the art project, Peaceful Heart. It's an acrylic. It's really beautiful. So, Philip, at the end of the last section, we were talking about, the three aspects, the three, and when you were talking about that, the thing that struck me at the time was that, what about the experience of, what we were talking about earlier, the love and the oneness? How does that fit into that, that stool in a way? How do you see that?
Well, it works in many ways. It helps you to be balanced. And one of the things that we know in this world is that we have to walk through this world, don't we? And so we need some tools. And these three things are the tools to enable us to walk through the world. It's like a protection. And I teach it to my children. And it really does empower them to walk through the world.
We were talking that your wife is a Buddhist. So how does that work? I mean, would you say that's also part of the Buddhist philosophy? That's like the middle path.
Yeah. It's very much so. The beauty of having a wife who's Buddhist and a husband who can't make his mind up is that she keeps balance as well. And me and my wife have been together since school. We went to the same school and we lived on the same street, and to be quite honest, we were together at the Big Bang. So we're very, very balanced together, and she's quite opposite to me, and I'm she's water and I'm fire, and it works wonderful. Perfect balance, and it's a wonderful example of how we all ought to be. And being away a lot as I am, flying to California to do these wonderful shows, I need a balanced wife to keep
hold
the
down
children.
The homestead.
Yeah, because the children need,
How old are they now?
11 and 8.
So they still need a lot of guidance and
They do, yeah,
nurturing and things like that.
But they're very good kids, very balanced. If they're not, I just hit them.
Yeah, whack them. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. As we're talking about the love and the oneness, but it's interesting. I mean, we were talking earlier, when we were setting up about like how this time is almost a time of a lot of new paradigms, and that these are forming as we go. So how do we live in these new paradigms? It's not always so clear because there aren't clear-cut rules. Why don't you talk about that and how you came across a lot of that, and how it came forth from all this history and all these like secret societies and things like that?
Yeah, well, the beauty of going backwards in history, looking back in history, is that you see that there are cycles in history, and these things have occurred again and again and again. And even though I'm an historian and I do see these cycles, I do have the feeling that right now things have got to change. Literally, we're at the point where they have got to, because it's not just the human race that's giving itself trouble. We're damaging this earth, big style. And if we don't change, it's going to change us. Because we may have balance inside of us, and there may be this balance inside of the molecule and the atom and the subatomic particles, and it goes right up. But there's also balance in this solar system that we're living in. And we can screw up balance outside of us just by thinking about it from quantum physics.
Yeah, energetically.
Absolutely, but we're doing it physically as well. As you said, we're destroying the earth. So I do think we're at a point where it's got to change. And the history shows that. The history shows that it's got worse and worse, and we've done more and more damage each time. Thousands and thousands of years ago, man was nomadic. He didn't stay in one place. People have this concept that he was a tribe and he stayed in one place. He wasn't, it was nomadic. You couldn't get inland because it was covered in trees. And so they went around the coasts and inland on the rivers and on the lakes and moved according to the earth. As the earth moved and breathed, they moved with it. And it was in perfect balance and harmony. And the anthropology shows that there was no warfare and that man lived longer. When man stopped in one place and suddenly said, this environment's got to change for me, where I am living, it's got to adapt to how I want to live, disease crept in because there were too many people together. And it became out of balance. And so, we're out of balance with nature, the way we're living right now. We put down bricks and mortar and think we own it. Yet what we've done is we've ripped something out of our imagination to create this building, and we've ripped something out of the earth to form this imaginative manifestation. It's not natural, because for millions of years we were nomadic. We breathed and moved with the earth, and now we've stopped and we're ripping the earth apart. And that's why I think we're at the point, thousands of years ago, it seems to be this perfect time, and now we're getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Bigger bombs all the time.
So more and more we're cutting off the branch we're sitting on, in essence.
Yes.
And so that disharmony is manifesting in a way that unless the disharmony reverses itself or loses its momentum and starts to reverse itself, basically we can't go on in this disharmony.
No.
But we were talking at the break that both of us see, and you travel the world and we get a lot of people coming in to be with us from all over the world, that in essence there is this change, this new paradigm, there is this 100th monkey coming in.
Absolutely, yeah. The 100th monkey principles are wonderful.
Why don't you describe that for people? Because you probably could describe it well. I've described it a bunch of times, but I always end up with some...
I'll try and use one that I know. There's the monkeys on an island. Yeah? On a particular island. They were being watched by anthropologists, and they fed them potatoes, but they wouldn't eat them. So they washed them in the water, and they tasted nice, salt. So they started eating the potatoes. And suddenly monkeys on the other islands were doing the same thing. And yet monkeys can't swim that far. How did that occur? And the principle was that so many of them suddenly learnt this, the information then spread.
And
kind of synchronicity occurred.
But it didn't spread to the other island. Then when it hit the 100th monkey, by some miracle seemingly.
Yes.
And then when 100 on the next island,
That's
it
right.
Right, that was right. Yeah. So that was between the two of us.
We'll get it right eventually. But that's occurred in nature everywhere, hasn't it? We had it with birds in Europe, pecking at the milk bottle tops, and suddenly in other countries the birds started doing it as well. But I find that fascinating because that shows that there's a connection between those animals, a connection that's not verbal, or physical. There's a connection somewhere, and that's quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement's amazing. Now, we've just been doing some research in China, which is really fantastic. You get two rooms, and you lead line one room, and you put a subject in there, and then the other subject in another room. The guy in the lead line room has nodes on their head to basically monitor the neural activity. And the person in this room, well, just go back a bit, these two people have to know each other fairly well, have to be related in some way, or friends. The person in this room, there's flashlights to, and see if the other guy is picking it up. You can't see the lights, and they do.
They do.
It's incredible. When they don't know each other, and they haven't been together, and they've never met each other, they don't pick it up. They have to be entangled, and it's quantum entanglement. The thoughts are entangling.
So how can we, in other words, like what you're saying, is if we could convince everybody that we're one family, not a family of Americans, a family of British, a family. So how do we expand below the concepts of different religions, of different countries? And that's energetics in a way. Yeah.
I mean, all I can do is what I can do. This is why I'm doing the DVDs and the books and all the other things. And the website is showing, I put loads of stuff on the website for people to read. I can just do as much as I can. The music that was on that DVD is Soul Path. They weren't a band. There were three guys who I basically asked to do some music. And after they'd done the music, I said, you've got to form a band. You've got to. Because this is the voice.
And then they changed the name to the Beatles. And it was...
That's it, that looked right. But I said they're the voice of the universe.
They're beautiful, yeah. It's
because
beautiful.
The three go together perfectly well. If you take one of them away, that Soul Path wouldn't exist.
And are they getting along and doing that?
Yeah, incredibly.
Really?
3 albums coming out.
Really?
I got them a record deal.
Oh, fantastic.
But by helping them to get that record deal, that music, that voice of the universe is going to go out and resonate. And the message in that music, it comes from me and Mike and the others. And it's put in there, and it's a good message. It's a message of love and peace and harmony and balance. It's not a message of screaming at your rock music, saying you've got to take drugs and see the girls and all that.
Right.
It's a good message. It's a vibrant message.
That's
It's a message of the universe, of nature, which is where we need to get back to.
Right, and the more that energy's out there, we used to say that, when we first started, like 12 years ago, if we were in a city, even if nobody knew it, because we'd be on, and then, there wasn't like, $2 million of advertising, bridging heaven and earth, now in your city, tuned in.
Yeah.
So, people would have to get, just see it and then start to build an audience and, make sure it was on the same time all the time. But even energetically, if it was just there and your message was going out to nobody listening consciously, it was worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing. More of us putting out that DVDs, music, CDs, TV shows, books, vibrating that.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really want to be flying around the world doing this all the time. Most writers want to be in a crofter's cottage in the Outer Hebrides with a typewriter on their own, because that's the psyche of a writer.
Right.
But it's got to be done.
Right. And it's your destiny to do it in a way you love and are joyous doing it. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I feel right doing this. And that's the whole key, is the intuition. If you listen to your intuition, you're listening to nature.
Okay, so if you could tell people in all your research and all your experience, what is some of the ways or some of the tools, you described some earlier, to get in touch with that intuition, to know the difference between your intuition, the concepts of the world, all the ways, but to know yourself, how do you experience that?
Well, if I give one example from the past, is as any alchemist would have told you, and you've got to burn off the chaff. Because at the end of the day, if you look at this picture, for instance, this marvellous picture, you've got to imagine that this heart here is at the centre. It's the very centre, and that's us. That's the real us that we were born with, and that is in connection to the universe. And that, it's even a special wave. It's 7.83 hertz, and I know that because it's a scientific fact that we resonate when we're in connection at 7.83 hertz, which is what the Earth should resonate at. But we've ruined it, and it's now resonating at a much higher level.
Right.
This is the real us. All this other stuff around us are all the things that we've learned, all the things that people have told us, all the TV advertisements, President Bush, Bill Clinton, the Queen, whoever has influenced us over time.
Yeah, the Pope and the...
It's all the trash.
All the stuff.
All this trash. That's not you, is it? That's what other people have said. That's all imagination. It's not real. So you've got to say to yourself, what of this is real? What of this is important? What of this is love? And get rid of all the hatred. And you'll start to get back to the centre. And use your intuition, because your intuition is the...
Okay, so if people would say, the millions of people who will ultimately be watching this interview are saying, okay, I want to get to my intuition. How would you say, starting tomorrow? I mean, at the beginning I was saying pray and intend.
You've got to test it. You've got to test it. For instance, on the way here tonight, we went the wrong way because we'd listened to somebody else. Our intuition, both of us, was to turn left on the highway, but we turned right because somebody told us to.
Oh, it wasn't me.
No.
I was going to say, I thought I gave you the right direction.
It was a woman, and they've got no sense of direction. So,
you said that.
Hey, I'm always controversial.
I'm glad your wife is a Buddhist.
Oh yeah, I'm always she has to be. Living with me, she has to be a Buddhist.
Right.
But it told us to turn right. We should have turned left. We knew it. We got to the point where we went, it feels like we should turn that way. That's our intuition. That's our nomadic intuition. When we go back,
we knew it.
I knew it. Well, I could sense it. It's probably something to do with the magnetite bars in my pineal gland. But we both knew it was that way. It's no map. We just knew it.
Right. How do you
if you do that every day, you start to do that every day, you'll start to trust it. Once we went that way, we just came back and we knew it was this. We should have turned left. That boosts that intuition. Just do it. Try to think the first thought. Try to follow it.
So in other words, it's in the Don Juan books, the Carlos Castaneda books, a lot of spiritual books. Stop the world. No mind, because mind has got all the reason and all the listen to this person, and intuition is almost like from the heart, or So we want to somehow just really begin to trust that.
Yeah,
to get in touch with that and trust that, because we all have a sense of it.
Most people know that the first thoughts, that, you know, it's a common saying, I wish I'd done what I thought first. You know, it's a very common thought. Well, it is in England anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
I don't know if it's over here in California, but it's a very common thing. I wish I'd done what I thought first. And that's your intuition normally. You know, and if you can trust that, you're trusting your true self. The second thoughts are the ones where it goes through the next levels of the onion, as you said earlier.
Oh, so it's moving out into
This is
the right, thought. The wrong, the good, the bad. I don't really know reason.
It starts to reason with all the things that we've been given over our life to think about.
It's interesting. We talk a lot about on the show is that if people realize for one minute we're hurtling through space on a ball, nothing about it is really reasonable.
No.
So why do we use reason to try to figure it out? And once you come really to up close and personal with that truth or that reality, then it's like you stop using that tool as much and you start to want to go into that intuition and there's a knowing.
I always think if you can see it mirrored in nature, it's true. And if you think about birds, they turn this way and all the others intuitively follow. There's intuition in nature. They don't reason. The bird isn't going like this. If I go north, there's probably going to be
a good cornfield.
Yeah, it's not thinking like that. Because if it was, it wouldn't go flying off into somewhere where the English people are shooting them out of the sky.
Right.
They use intuition. They follow the electromagnetic currents of the earth. They're at one with nature, just as we used to be.
And interesting, in all your research, basically you came out to. It's interesting because, you studied so much, you read so much, you traveled so much. You basically trust your instincts, trust your intuition.
Yeah, after all
that. If you come into tune with that, everything will be a lot better off.
Yeah.
We'll be more in harmony, more. Yeah. That's amazing.
It is. After sitting in the Bodleian Library and the Oxford University and all these places all over the world and getting all this wonderful knowledge and sitting at the feet of the Sufi, you come back to the point, you listen to your intuition. Right.
And it's interesting, but you have to listen to it enough to know what harmony is, so you know what disharmony is.
Yeah.
And the momentum is that you're, in harmony and harmony and harmony. And then when disharmony comes, it's so glaring in a way you go, I don't like that anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? The momentum is shifted.
Absolutely.
So little, one step, one breath at a time.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying, one intuition at a time.
Yeah. And people, they can only take what we say. You know for a fact, and I know for a fact that once you have done that, once you've trusted your intuition for long enough, it's real.
It's real, and anybody can tell you differently.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody earlier, and I said, really what you have to do is just, be in that space of trusting, and then people will either get it or they won't, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right. It's superb.
Yeah.
Once you understand that connection back to nature, that it's you, and it's your intuition, and that you are completely at one with the universe, it's an epiphany.
And it's a miracle.
It's beautiful because you have lots of them and you keep having them.
You're right.
It's wonderful.
Right. And then you're basically like love and motion. So I think
we're
actually coming to the end of the show. So ending on love and motion is good. So really thanks for coming. Thanks for coming this way and all this way. It's great. All right. So we're coming to the end of the show again. If you want any information about Philip, the DVDs, the CDs, the books, please call me, Alan, 805-687-2053, 805-687-2053. Good night. We love you. Really, it's only about the love. It's only about our connection. Let's come into it. Let's do it. Good night. Thank you. Good night.